Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bridge Views. Today, I'm sitting with Attorney Shani Brooks, founder and owner of Shani Brooks Law, located here in Atlanta. With over 15 years of experience, he's built a reputation for taking on some of the hardest cases and requiring people to be more accountable, changing lives and the outcomes that are in favor for his clients. But beyond being a powerhouse attorney, he's also a husband, father, professor, mentor, and today we're diving into his journey. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
We're in your beautiful office in Buckhead.
Thank you.
You're welcome. How long have you been here?
So I've been here, this is my third year in this Buckhead location. So we came from our Midtown location and then we opened up this Buckhead office, and now we've recently, within the last 6 or 7 months, we opened a office in Alpharetta as well. But this is our flagship office here in Buckhead.
Congratulations on expanding.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And practicing law for over 15 years. So for some people that may not know you, what kind of law do you practice and what's your background?
Okay, so I practice personal injury law exclusively. That's what that we do here. So mostly trucking cases, auto cases, premises liability cases, and a variety of other injury-related matters. That's what we handle here day in, day out. I've practiced in several other different areas, and I've just exclusively been in injury for about 7 years now. And it's just really what I'm passionate about. And, we do a lot of positive things here. So that's where we are. And prior to that, I didn't start in law. It's not like I came out of law school or I came out of undergraduate school and went to law school. I actually worked in business for a few years. So I worked as a corporate accounts manager, as a financial analyst, and then ended up going to law school.
So what caused the pivot? Did you feel like you needed the business to get into law, so you kind of had both sides?
That's a really interesting question. And the answer is it's an answer that is multifaceted. So one of the main reasons was that I was in finance at the time, and though I was really good at, hitting corporate, doing corporate thing and being able to meet revenue goals and meet, product goals that we're supposed to. So I didn't feel good about it. I know that we were taking people from, in some instances, and I'm not going to say what company it is. I don't need to kind of throw them under the bus, but we were taking people from like prime rate to subprime. And it was I just didn't really feel good about it. So I didn't feel like I was doing something that was meaningful and helping. And then I also didn't like just a corporate, structure just in general, like that corporate culture. I just really wasn't a fan of, and I didn't like having to be a part of performance reviews and all of that. I just didn't really feel it. I've always felt like I was meant to be the owner and the boss. I just really kind of felt that boss and energy for myself. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to do something else. I want to do something where I can help people. And then I can also, make an impact on the community. I can make an impact on my family, and also have a license. That was one of the things, the determining factors for me for going to law school, was that I wanted to be able to, just start my own thing. So I didn't want somebody to be reliant on somebody to say, hey, you can eat or not. If you have a license, you're a licensed attorney, you pass the bar, you're a licensed attorney, well, then you can hang up your shingle and you can just start practicing on your own so that you don't have to rely on somebody else to feed you.
So just like based on my TV knowledge, it sounds like the life that you were leaving sounds very similar to where you would be going as an attorney. Like you watch Suits and you see it's very corporate, it's very structured, and it doesn't necessarily seem like you can just go out and open your own. So you were able right after you passed to just open your own practice?
No, it wasn't just like, boom, you just kind of open your own practice. I mean, you could. I know some people that have come out and they'll just open their own practice. But in order to do that, you're going to need some type of mentorship, Okay. So that's going to be very helpful because, when you're in law school, you're not, being in law school doesn't, prepare you for being a lawyer. It just,
right.
You're just learning a bunch of legal theory and, a lot of analytical skills you're building, but you're not actually, trying any cases or doing any of that. Now you may do mock trial or moot court, or you may intern, but getting some experience of some sort, it doesn't matter what the practice area is. But getting some experience is going to be very important if you want to just kind of strike out on your own, but also finding good mentorship, which is actually, it's harder than you would think. A lot of established attorneys, some are very open to helping, I'm one of those people, and some people aren't as open to mentorship. They're like, and I got mine, you get yours. And but I think that's kind of the old guard way of thinking. I think attorneys that in my sphere at this time.
It's becoming more open.
Yeah, are pretty open to helping, and they see the importance of being able to kind of reach back and help and develop young attorneys and help them avoid some of the pitfalls that they may have encountered across their career.
Okay. So you were doing the business and marketing at Clark, right?
Yes.
And then finished that degree and then went to law school?
Yes.
After.
So I got to Clark Atlanta University and I majored in business, and it was marketing management because I didn't really have any direction. I'm coming from New Orleans. I'm coming from a single family home, the oldest of four brothers. I didn't really know exactly what it was that I wanted to do. I mean, it's not that my father was absentee completely, but he just wasn't there. I saw him about once a year. But he was involved in a limited capacity, but I didn't really have much in the way of direction. And it's not as if I have like a traditional story, so to speak, where you are a little kid and you dress up as a lawyer for career day. And then
does anybody actually know what they want to do like their whole life though? Like, I feel like that is some movie stuff. There's very few adults that I've talked to and like they're doing now what they wanted to do as a kid.
I agree with that. But I think it just depends, circumstantial. So it depends on your family dynamic.
Fair.
So say for instance, in our communities, it's not as common to just kind of know what you want to do because you're not coming from, a lot of times we're not coming from that example. You may be coming from a first generation lawyer or doctor or first generation college graduate. So there, you don't have a father that owns a law firm or an investment, investment firm, or that owns a doctor's practice, a medical practice. So you're not seeing that day in and day out or working in these businesses where you can already know from an early age, you know what, I want to, I'm looking at my father, I want to be just like him, or I want to be just like her, as far as your mother. So I'm actually fortunate enough, like, I don't know what's going to happen with my son, but he's always wanting to dress like me when he comes to the office, and he likes to come. I want to come out and answer the phones. Dad, I want to be like you. I want to, be a lawyer just like you one day. So to answer your question, again, I know that was a long, convoluted way of kind of giving an answer, but I definitely think that in our communities, again, it's a lot less common, but in other communities, I think it's very common that you're going to have some direction because you're getting fed with that positive energy and that success from early on.
That makes sense. So we get the business and marketing degree and then go over to practice law or to law school. Where'd you go?
So I went to Texas Southern University in Houston, Texas. It was an amazing experience for me. And I left Atlanta, went to Texas, but I always wanted to come back to Atlanta to start my practice. I loved Atlanta. I was here in the old Atlanta days. So I thought that this was a great place to actually to be in business, and it still is. It's an amazing place to be in business. So I ended up doing that. But making the transition from business to law, there were three main reasons why I decided to become a lawyer. Because again, I didn't know any lawyers, never met any lawyers, but I knew that I wanted to be a success, and I had some images and some examples from college. So when I was in college, I was in the business department, but I had a business law. Back then, you used to have to take business law in order to graduate with a business degree. And I had an attorney as my business law professor. His name was Attorney Baskins. And he had a profound effect on me. And it's unbeknownst to him, I'm sure. He doesn't even know this, but he was an injury lawyer. He was very well dressed. He was very well mannered. He was a man's man. He was just that image, of a man is something that kind of stuck with me. I was like, man, I want to be, like him. I want to be a success like him. I want to talk like him. I want to do all of these things. So that was one image, positive image that I had. And so again, the power of positive imagery. And then I looked at some movies that we had back in the day where you had images of positive Black men, like the movie The Brothers. It's an old movie from the 90s, but there were doctors in there and lawyers in there in that particular movie. And I saw myself as a combination of all those characters, but just in general, just being a successful young Black man in business of some sort. So those two reasons combined with one final reason, which was I just had an interest in the law and I wanted to know more about the law. Especially because I felt powerless kind of coming up as a Black teen in New Orleans, where there was a lot of discrimination and racism among police officers and Black youth. So, experiencing that and feeling powerless at times, I was like, man, I would really like to know more about the law so that I could protect myself or at least be in a position to, have an understanding of the law. So, I would be in a better position than I am now.
That makes sense. Did you pledge when you were at Clark or
Yes,
Texas?
I did.
Okay.
No. I pledged undergraduate school at Clark Atlanta University. I'm a GK Noob, and that was an amazing experience. Clark Atlanta University for me was just an amazing experience in general. And I just think that the HBCU experience in general is just an amazing experience because it's really one of the only times in your life where you're going to be that little microcosm of life,
Yeah.
or the Black experience is going to be where it's unlike anything else that you're ever going to experience because you're going to have professors that look like you for the most part. It's going to be all students that are going to be. So it's just a community of your community that's like-minded. They're looking to develop, they're looking to grow, and you're sharing experiences, you're making lifelong connections. So I was very involved in the school. Again, I pledged there, I went there. I've been fortunate enough over the years now to be able to be a professor.
I was going to
there.
say, you teach there
Yes,
as well.
I did. I taught there for a number of years. I recently stopped teaching there because my practice obligations here have gotten to the point where I just don't have the time anymore. But I'm still involved in the school. I donate to the school. I give scholarship money. I give students from HBCUs, but especially Clark Atlanta University, opportunities to intern with the office. I do a number of things. Bar prep scholarship money, LSAT scholarship money.
That's
and
amazing.
One of the things particular why I do that is because I want, because I know some of the challenges that face our community as far as with testing or not having or not knowing about the benefit of, tutoring for testing or classes for testing is things that we typically don't have access to, or even if we do, we may not know the importance of having that. So,
and I always hear how hard the test is in general overall.
Yeah.
So when you graduated in Texas and then came over back to Atlanta, how did that work?
Well, what you do is the bar exam. It depends on what state, but typically it's going to be 2 days or 3 days, for the bar exam. So it's just pretty much you start studying, you study for 2 months, and then you take the exam. But then it's a real waiting game. You have to wait for several months in order to get your results back. So you're just kind of waiting for that to happen. But then once you get your results, you pass the bar, then you can just start practicing. So whether or not you were in an internship and then you're able to just get a job, or you just got a job, or if you just hung your shingle out and said, hey, I'm going to take some continued legal education class and I'm just going to try my hand at practicing, which I don't advise because that's a very tough way to do it. But that was pretty much the process.
Okay. And then now being here in Atlanta, it's kind of like its own mini HBCU because we have a lot of our people here and a lot of our people are in really good positions and companies. Do you feel like there's any challenges you face, like having your personal injury your personal injury practice here?
Challenges? Yes, there are going to be challenges in any business, and more specifically in personal injury, there are challenges in Atlanta because it's just a really big market. Like here in Atlanta, it's just a huge market. You have a ton of very
There's so many accidents.
There's so many accidents, and that drives
my insurance right through the roof when I moved here. It tripled my insurance.
Yeah, it's because it's just so many people, there's so many drivers, so many bad drivers.
Yeah.
Which is for me, I can't really complain because if they didn't have a bunch of accidents, well, then
I was going to say you must have a waiting list.
So I wish. I mean, we're doing very well and we're very thankful. But in Atlanta, you have a lot of good attorneys. You have a lot of law firms because it's a place where there's just so much in the way of opportunity and lawyers are needed. But the challenges really come from, several different avenues. So one of is in the beginning. Say if you're just going to start out a practice where you're going to need capital, right? And access to capital is something that's going to be difficult for you if you're just starting out any business, but especially if you're starting out a law practice and you're from a certain community, then it's going to be a little bit harder and there are going to be some challenges. And that never ends because even when you become a success, and your P&L is really swollen, and you're doing very well.
More money, more problems.
Your credit is through the roof. Well, then when you're trying to do things like get into commercial spaces or buy certain things, you may be facing extra scrutiny that some other lawyers in other communities may not be facing. And you're like, well, why am I having to put down 6 months time or 3 months time for this particular commercial space. And well, it's 1 to 3 and we just decided 3 for you. And it's like, but there really doesn't seem to be any justification. But again, that kind of comes with the territory. So there are challenges, many challenges, but what you have to do is just kind of focus on your continued success and what your goals are going forward, and your goals for yourself and your goals for your practice.
That makes sense. On the personal injury side, what do you think is the number one mistake people make after they've been in an accident?
The number one mistake I say that people make is that they talk to the insurance companies. That is the worst thing that you can do. The insurance companies,
they tell you finish your police report and then call your insurance.
Yeah, well, that's calling your insurance, which that's something, whether or not you should call your insurance and when you should call them, that's something that's why you really need to have an attorney, because you don't want to. What you need to do first, not call any of this. You need to call an attorney. You need to call a good personal injury attorney, and they're going to give you some guidance that you're going to need in order to help you out. But you definitely don't have any conversations with the attorney from the at-fault party, with the defendant side. No, you don't give them any statements. And a lot of times what happens is
So you're not required to.
No.
So I get into a car accident. I do my police report. I go home. I should start Googling Shani Brooks.
Absolutely. Okay. Immediately. That's exactly what you should do.
Right.
You need to do that.
Then I call you and I'm like, hey, I've just been into an accident. Now what?
Okay. So then another thing that you're supposed to do in the beginning is you need to seek medical care. A lot of times people don't know how hurt they are. They assume that, if the accident isn't as bad, well, maybe I'm not as hurt, but your adrenaline is running. But we're not medical doctors. We can't tell you how hurt you are. What you need to do is you need to get checked out. Now, if the accident is really bad and kind of the injuries speak for themselves, we have cases where, you have really severe injuries. You may have, cerebral hematoma. You may have, a broken leg. You may have, some injuries where, orbital socket is busted up, where the injuries are just there. So they're rushing you to the emergency room anyway.
So if everything's intact visually and aesthetically, I look fine. I got into the accident, police come, I should go to urgent care and get checked out or schedule an appointment ASAP with my doctor and make sure that I'm okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, then call you.
Yes.
Then what?
Well, you should call me first.
Before I go to the doctor?
Before you do any of that. You need to call an attorney immediately and just, get some legal advice as to what you should do. Because a lot of times people don't know. What they do is they assume maybe it's okay for me to talk to the defendant while we're on the accident scene, or maybe it's okay for me to move.
So don't engage with anybody.
Don't engage, except for the police officer.
Yeah.
The police officer, you can go ahead and give your side of the story to the police officer. But as far as commenting on your injuries, the nature of your injuries, whether or not you're injured, that's not something that you need to provide to the officer, because you just don't know.
Right.
So, and you don't want that to be in some type of report where you, or when you get into
Ashley said she was okay.
Exactly.
5 o'clock. Okay.
There you go.
Do you think that that's how insurance companies are able to avoid paying victims fairly? Because at the beginning they've said something?
A lot of times that is the case, where if you come out and you say, hey, I'm not hurt at all, and that's a statement that you've made to that insurance company, they can potentially use that against you to undervalue your case. So maybe your case is worth more, but because you said that, and they do other investigation based on that, and they find out, well, hey, this is a way that we can undervalue the case. So you just never do that. What you do is, if you're going to have to give a statement, which you might, but you need to do that when you have a law firm that's representing you.
That makes sense. Do you ever hear any crazy myths when it comes to hiring a personal injury attorney that's completely false?
Yes.
Give me 2 or 3.
All the time. So one of the myths that I hear often, and it's because there's so much deceptive advertising, but what you hear is that, I was hit by a FedEx truck, and FedEx has at least $5 million of coverage. So, hey, I got hit by FedEx. I'm going to get $1 million or $5 million. That is so far from the truth. It's ridiculous. And it's called personal injury for a reason. Okay. You're getting compensation for your injuries, damages, and loss. It's not just because somebody hit you. So if you have very little or low damages, well, then you're not going to get millions of dollars. It does not work like that. Even though some ads, deceptive ads, may, have you thinking that, hey, you're going to get 6 figures or something. I wasn't even heard, or whatever the ad may be, that may say, hey, you're going to be entitled to that. But any lawyer, it's irresponsible. It's disingenuous, and it's at the very least, in order to say, hey, I can guarantee you're going to get all of this money or this substantial amount of money without getting right into the case, because you don't know anything in the beginning. You need to get a lot more knowledge and information before you can make a determination of what you believe a value of a case could be.
So with that being said, how do you determine if a case is worth it or not? Because I remember I called you because I had a friend who, freak accident, had the bag of rice, cooked it, ate it, and there was a human tooth inside.
Correct.
And she was freaking out, ready to sue.
Correct.
And you gave me some very interesting knowledge that I was like, oh, she should be able to sue. People sue because coffee's hot. Like, this is a tooth.
Yeah. Well, that's very interesting, that scenario that she provided. And this is the fact. You can sue for anything. Now, the lawsuit may be a frivolous lawsuit, and it may be thrown out, may be dismissed with prejudice or without prejudice, or whatever the case may be. But if you want to sue, you can bring a lawsuit, you can bring an action, but whether or not it's valid or not is one thing. And two, you can bring an action and believe the case to be worth something, or there to be some value, and there may not be any value at all. So in that particular scenario, it's just, and now other lawyers may
or just in general, how do you determine if a case is worth it or not? Because you gave great advice, and two other people told me the exact same thing.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you have to have damages. You have to have damages. If you don't have damages, so typically in a civil lawsuit for an injury case, what you're gonna need is duty, breach, causation, and damages. Okay. So if everything else is there, but you have very low damages.
So let's break it down. So duty.
Okay. So if you're riding on the road, they have a duty to make sure that they're operating their car in a reasonable manner. Right. Okay. So there's duty to do that and make sure that they're doing things that are not erratic on the road. Then if they breach that duty and they're just being negligent, they're on their phone or whatever they're doing, boom, they cause the accident. Right. And then we're saying, okay, did that impact cause their injury? So do we have causation? Are we linking causation? Is that impact, did that cause them to have a herniation, a disc bulge, some type of serious injury, internal bleeding, or whatever it is? So if the doctors can link causation, then what you're left with is the damages. And that's a lot of times what the argument is about, is how much is the case worth? And we look at what type of damages. So there are two main types of damages in injury cases that you're primarily looking at, which is economic damages and non-economic damages. And just a kind of more simplistic way of thinking about it, it would be your medical bills and future medical bills.
That's economic.
That's going to be economic. Okay. There will be other things involved in that, like lost wages. But the non-economic is going to be your pain and suffering, or mental anguish, pain and suffering, and
like I missed 2 months of work.
Well, pain and suffering is going to be what you're experiencing. So, say for instance, if you now you can't swallow like you used to swallow because of the accident, you have a permanent injury, or you have permanent scarring, and you were a model.
Gotcha.
And now you have permanent scarring, and you're unable to, you're having all types of issues and everything. You can't sleep at night because of this, or if you have no leg anymore, you have some type of injury where now you can't walk. And it really depends. Like the damage calculation is the non-economic damages part is the big fight, where insurance companies are really trying to fight you on what the value is. But insurance companies want to fight you anyway. They're not going to.
I mean, that's their job.
Yeah,
right?
That's their job. I mean, a lot of these insurance companies are owned by. They have shareholders. They're traded. They're publicly traded companies. So they're going to have to make money, and that's what they're in the business for. They're not in the business for paying claims out. The less they pay out, the more money they make. So they're not your friend. And whenever people think that, hey, you're safe, or trust us, or all of these different slogans that they're providing, it's just insane. It's wild, for you to believe that. What you do is, you trust yourself, and what you do is you call a good personal injury lawyer.
So what if I call you, but I can't afford it? Like, I just don't have money up front. This was my car. This is my only source of to get transportation, to get to and from. How does that work? Like financially, if I'm just strapped and can't afford you? Okay.
So the good thing about personal injury cases are that they're on contingency, which just means we don't get paid till you get paid. What happens if we believe in the case, we believe that there's value, we believe that the defendant, caused your injuries, then the attorney and the law firm is going to look to take the case on. So we'll sign up the case, and then we'll front the cost of the litigation or the pre-litigation. Will work on the case, and you don't owe us anything until the end of the case. So you don't have to come up with any money up front. All you have to do is follow the advice that your lawyer, tells you to do, throughout the course of, and the doctors, of course, the doctors are going to be who you really need to follow. So if the doctors are telling you, hey, listen, you need to go to treatment, then you're going to need to go to treatment, so sometimes you have some clients that are good and you have some clients that are bad. It just really just depends. But financially, in injury case, you don't have to worry about it because it's on contingency.
Okay, so I have my attorney. Now, what does that process normally look like? Is it a quick settlement? Is it a year, 2 years, 3 years? Like, what's the average time span for a case?
Okay, it's very hard to answer that question because there really is no average. Case could take 3 months. It could take 13 years. It just depends on the nature of the case. It depends on how much in the way of damages that you have. It depends on who the insurance company is. It depends on so many different factors. It's hard to give you a definitive answer. But I've settled cases in 1 day. I've settled cases in 10 days, 30 days.
What's the longest case?
I've got active cases right now from 5 years ago.
Okay, so that's not too bad.
6 years ago. I mean, it's cases that
you
we
said
probably
10 before, so it's like...
you have litigation. You have cases that are going on for even over 10 years, but we have one that's about 5 or 6 years, and it's just one left that's kind of hanging on from...
Is that because they won't settle, or are you guys in court? Like, what does the process look like settling versus going to court? I'm assuming settling's faster because they just pay you, right?
Yes, well, settling a case versus litigating a case are going to be totally different. So if you're selling, but again, a settlement can take a substantial amount of time, but typically settlements are going to be faster. So if it's a less complex case, then there is not going to be as much in the way of work that needs to be done preliminarily in order to resolve the case. So if you have a products liability case, or if it's a combo case, there's an injury, there's somebody that there was a product defect, but also the driver was the one negligent. And now you have to, have an expert look at the vehicle. They're going to have to,
It's going to take more time.
You're going to have to look at the vehicle, locate the truck, locate the special vehicle, locate whatever it is. And then you're going to have to arrange with them in order to potentially look at the vehicle, dismantle the vehicle, do all these other things. So that's just one component of that particular case where it's going to take a substantial amount of time. Then you're going to try and see if you can resolve it. And then if you can't, then you're going to have to go into litigation. And then more complex litigation is going to take longer. But if it's just a pretty simple, straightforward, accident case, well, you may be able to resolve it pretty quickly in litigation. But it just depends. Some cases have to go all the way to trial. But this is what you need to do, in my opinion. And every lawyer is different. But I think that you need to evaluate. The way we do it at our firm is that we evaluate every case for litigation value from the beginning. We want to evaluate the client. The client's a good fit. So when you have a lawyer, you want to make sure that you trust the lawyer, that you believe in their abilities, you believe in what they're saying. And in turn, we have to trust the clients. A lot of times clients may take their case because they may lie to you. They've lied to their own lawyer. You're like, well, why didn't you tell me this?
Yeah, tell me the truth.
Yeah, just tell me the truth. You said, hey, one, you've never been in an accident before. They pull up your accident history. You've got 10 accidents. You got surgery. You've got all these other things that you had that you didn't tell us about that may.
Do you think that's because they're scared you're going to not take the case, or is it like a lot of frivolous cases?
You know what? I never really thought about whether or not they were scared in order to say something. Sometimes some people are just private, or they may have actually
I feel like
forgotten.
if this is my 6th accident, I'd be like, oh my God.
Yeah. If you've been in 6 accidents.
I can't tell him he's not going to take my case. Absolutely not.
Well, the thing is, we're going to find out anyway. Yeah. We're going to do
it's going to come out, but it's just awkward. Like maybe you wouldn't, because that's what I would think. They'd be fearful.
Yeah, sometimes in that type of situation, well, they may be fearful. Like if they've had 5 or 6 accidents, they're definitely potentially going to be fearful. But if it's just somebody that had an accident, like maybe 3 or 4, maybe 7, 8 years ago, they forgot about it, or it's a minor accident, they may have forgotten about it. So, or they just, didn't think about it long enough and hard enough to just kind of, say whether or not they had one or not. So it really just depends. But in my experience, when a client is truthful, it always works out better for us when the client's truthful. And then we can kind of get a gauge of whether or not the case is a good fit for the firm. Because just because you have injuries and it was an accident doesn't mean that you're a good fit for our firm.
Is it more like personality, or like if they're going to listen?
Yeah.
Because if the doctor's telling them to go to appointments and they don't, I would assume that makes it harder for you to fight for them if they're not fighting for themselves.
Sure. You hit the nail on the head. What happens is when clients want to, what we commonly say in our offices, they want to just do their own lawyering, or they just want to steer their own case. And then why did you hire us? I mean, you need to take our advice. If we're telling you to do X, Y, and Z, or we're telling you, hey, deactivate your social media, or, just go ahead and, do certain things in order to, avoid potential injuries and pitfalls, or we need you to fill out this prereq form, to make sure that that we're not facing any challenges in the future because we know that you have, you had a workers' comp claim years ago, and where you had, an issue with your hip, and now this is a re-aggravation injury versus a new injury. So it's just a bunch of things that you need to do in the vetting process. And
to ensure it's smooth.
To make sure it's a smooth transition, and that that you're a good fit for the firm. And sometimes you are, and sometimes you're not. But, that's why I think it's so important for people to get their own attorney. You don't have someone, do your own research, or if you know somebody that makes a recommendation for a good firm, then you want to kind of look at that. A lot of times after accidents, what happens is you are going to get calls. What happens is people, and you don't know where the call where the call came from, or how the people even got your information. But a lot of times, if a lot of people don't know this, but your information has been sold, or, it's been, people just leak your information. And now you're getting calls like, hey, it's not even from a firm. Sometimes it's just from a marketing agency or somewhere else. And they're just claiming to be from a law firm potentially, or something to that effect. And they just want to try and get you signed up with a firm or push you to a lawyer. But I would just—
That seems so predatory.
Yeah, it is. But it's in personal injury. That's kind of the nature of the business. You're going to have bad actors and good actors, and you're just going to have to make decisions that are going to be best for you in your case. But I say the best decision you can make is for one, get a lawyer immediately, but also pick your own lawyer.
And how should you pick your lawyer? What would you look for? Well,
you want to look for somebody that's got experience in the type of law. So it doesn't matter what area of law it is. Is it business litigation? Is it family law or injury? You want somebody that has a proven track record for success. You want to find somebody whose style fits your style. Right?
How do you prove that, though? Because I feel like Atlanta is this city of pretenders. So how do you prove that they've had a track record of successful cases outside of just, if I look at your website, you can tell me anything?
Sure. Well, you can look at a good way to ascertain whether or not somebody has a track record for success is to look at their reviews, right? So if you have, and I know some people are like, well, yeah, you can buy reviews and things of that nature. And yes, you can, but you can determine whether or not somebody's story is, if it's bought and it's some bots versus it being some people that had a genuine experience. And you can look and you'll see testimonials and stuff. Those aren't paid actors, but for the most part, what they are is it's clients, it's previous clients, and it's people that really just had an experience and you made an impact on their life and they wanted to share their story. So those are some things that you can do, in order to, determine or really kind of sift through the weeds and see if you can find, an attorney that's right for you.
That makes sense. What's the most common cases in Atlanta that you're seeing right now?
The most common cases probably in most places in injury is going to be auto cases and trucking cases of some sort. Ride share cases are big because you have so many different, Uber and Lyft and these ride share, and then this and this new one, Waymo, I think it is. So you're having a surge of those types of auto accident or trucking accident injury cases. So that's a lot of what we're seeing now. Okay.
And then within your practice, how'd you come up with your leadership style? Was it more through your mentor? Was it from your fraternity? What kind of helped you mold into who you are? Because you have a pretty big team here.
Yeah, well, my leadership style is what I tend to do is, well, of course, I am a GK do Clark. So, I do, achievement is in my blood. But what I would say as far as, we're looking for to be treated the way I would want to be treated. So when I used to work in a corporate setting, I just didn't like the treatment, even though for some jobs I had amazing managers, right? But for others, I just didn't like the whole corporate structure. And I said, okay, the culture of my firm, I wanted to be different. I wanted to be where people felt valued. I wanted people to be willing to work hard and we're going to play hard. But I wanted to be so my leadership style is really empowering you to be a leader. And the way that I do that is through training. So I'm really big on training. So whether it's the lawyers, paralegals, investigators, case managers, what we're doing is I'm making sure that you're going to train, just like the lawyers are going to training and doing continued legal education that we have to do. I'm making sure everybody else is going to conferences, everyone else is doing training so that they can, really, grow in their area in the law.
That makes sense. Do you find it hard to like balance everything, like being a father, a husband, business owner, practicing attorney? Like, is it a lot?
Yeah, I mean, it is a lot because like running a law practice is a 24/7, 365 thing. So I'm just really fortunate, shout out to my wife, Naomi. She's just really fantastic. She is extremely supportive, right? So, and she's the biggest cheerleader for my success because she's, wise enough to know that my success is her success and her success is the success of our family, right? And we've been very fortunate and very blessed to have, everything that anyone could want. And we're really thankful for that. But it is difficult because there are some things that I'm not able to see at all times. So there's a lot of times where my daughter, who's 2, I'm able, and sometimes I can't catch her before she goes to bed because I'm still working and things of that nature. My son is a little older, so he doesn't really care, so much about seeing dad too much. But at the end of the day, there is give and take. But I do know that, from my standpoint, I know what my main goal is as a husband and as a father is as a provider and protector. So that's what I'm, hyper focused on that. And the better I am at doing what I'm doing for the firm is going to be better ultimately for my family and provide me an opportunity to give them the life that they deserve.
That makes sense. And that's really deep. What advice would you give like a younger attorney that's trying to figure it all out? Since it seems like you have it pretty down pat. I mean, I know you have a good team and a good support system, but outside of that, like, is there any tools or any advice that you would give them?
Sure. I would share with a young attorney that was looking to kind of strike out on their own. What I would do is I would get very involved with going to different conferences, meeting people, and making connections, and then also seeing how you could add value to a potential mentor-mentee situation, right? Because a lot of times with young people, they're like, oh, well, I'm just starting out. I don't know what type of value, but everybody has talents. So you can find what it is how you can contribute, and do your part. And that's going to ultimately help people to want to do more in order to kind of help you. But you really just need to, everybody thinks these days because of TikTok and Instagram that it's,
quick
everybody's rich and it's, get rich quick and, you're going to make all this money and everybody's just living all of this life. And it's just so ridiculous, money, like the average age of a millionaire just in the United States is going to be in the 50s, mid 50s. So when people are thinking that everybody in their 20s is millionaires and all this silly stuff, it's just really
There's
ridiculous.
not even that many millionaires in the country.
Correct.
And the same with billionaires. Like I heard this person was talking, they're like, they ended up naming like 4 different billionaires allegedly. And I'm like, it's just so funny. Because there's under 8,000 in the world, and you met 3 of them.
It's like it's just a law of averages. I mean, come on, man. Let's just cut it out, the foolishness. But again, people. So what I would say is just be patient and just clock small wins, every day. It's kind of like working out. So if you continue, like if you can't just go in the gym and work out for 12 hours or 14 hours straight and then look in the mirror and say, hey, I don't have any gains. What you have to do is you just have to make small wins every day and continue to work and grow and develop as an attorney. Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the major things that's going to help you is that you're going to continue to grow in the practice of law and, enhance your skills and learn different things and put yourself in positive environments around positive people that can help you.
Were there any cases that you've had throughout the years that kind of changed the way you see the system or felt like it wasn't worked out the way that you would have wanted it to?
Sure. There's so the cases that are most meaningful to me typically are going to be cases where I'm helping, children. So if there's a serious or severe injury to a child and their life is going to be impacted because they're just going to start, children are so innocent. A lot of times it really is, like those are the cases that kind of tug at my heartstrings. So I really am thankful to be able to kind of help and kind of change the lives and get them college funds and get them all kinds of money. And the law is good in the sense that with these big settlements that we get for children, what happens is, you have to have there's a lot of court oversight. So it's not like the parents aren't taking the money and buying a house.
It's not like the child actors over here.
Yeah, it's not going to be a situation like that. The children are going to end up with the money because you're going to have a conservatorship and the court's going to be involved in whether or not the parents are going to, and there's a lot of checks and balances. So that's something that's important.
That makes sense. Do you feel like, because I feel like at one point you were kind of doing it all, you box too, right?
Yes.
So you have the boxing, you slowed down on the teaching, the practice.
Yeah.
What are you trying to do with the boxing? And your social media is great.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. I love to see your TikToks and you educating everybody and going back and forth.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, you guys, I can tell you put a lot of work into that.
Yeah, well, it's the boxing is just part of my workouts. I've been boxing for years, and it's just a part of kind of keeping me sharp and just working out in general. Whether it's weight training, whatever it is, it's just part of a de-stressor for me. I think that self-care is something that's really important. You want to, especially in the legal space, if you're doing a lot, right? So if you're having to do a lot of hours where you're kind of wearing your body down, you're wearing your mind down. So you need something to recharge, in order to get you back in a good space, in a good place. So for me, working out is one of those things. And then of course, traveling. I
was going to say I need to know outside of the working out, what else do you do for self? So travel?
The travel is a big thing for me. Like I've been to a lot of countries. I know everybody's like, oh, I love traveling. Everybody's posting their travel and everything, but that's great. I think everybody should travel more, that you should take that time. And I have some very successful friends that are very they're so entrenched in their business that they're just like, oh, I can't get away, or
you have to.
You have to take time for yourself in order to recharge. It's going to make you a better person. It's going to make you a better friend, better husband, wife, whatever it is. But you need to take time so you can balance yourself out so that you can be a better person for others.
Where's your favorite place to travel right now?
Right now, I don't have a favorite place right now. I've been to maybe close to 40, 45, 46 countries. But I think that the next place I would like to travel is going to be either South Africa or Tanzania, or a combination of those two.
Africa is beautiful. Yes. It's so big. Okay, I have some rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
So I just need you to tell me the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
All right, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
First thing you do when you wake up?
What did I do when I wake up? I don't know. I go
to
the gym.
Check your phone? Are you
Oh, do I check my phone? No, I get up and I head to the gym. I'm hyper focused on knocking that out in the morning.
You're boxing in the morning, or you just switch up?
No, I just switch up. Whether I'm just doing weights or cardio, whatever it is, I'm doing that first thing in the morning.
Okay. Favorite Atlanta restaurant?
House.
Oh, House is good. Most common injury case you handle?
Auto. Biggest
red flag when dealing with insurance companies?
I would name just a specific insurance company, but I don't want to do that. So I would just say, what I would say is just any insurance company that's just trying to settle immediately, right? As soon as the accident happens.
Okay. Dream vacation spot?
Dream vacation spot is probably
anywhere in the world, no budget?
No budget. Probably South Africa.
South Africa, okay. What's one thing people should never say after an accident? I'm okay.
Or I'm okay. Yeah, that's you definitely want to shy away from that.
Book or podcast that changed your life?
There are many books that changed my life, but there's a book that that really impacted me, which is From Superman to Man. Okay. It's a really powerful book, and there are many books. There's a lot of books by Dr. Claude Anderson. There's just a ton of books that impacted my life. Podcasts. I'm not really a big podcaster, though I do watch this podcast, and it's very dope. I'm a big fan. But I just think you should always be growing and developing as a person. So listening to very good podcasts, reading books is something that is going to help, it enhance you just as a person. A lot of times what people are doing they're scrolling on Instagram or TikTok, and that's what they're doing. You find yourself, even myself, I'll find myself, I say, oh, I gotta stop this. I've got to get back to, what I'm doing. But a book in particular, I know I mentioned Dr. Claude Anderson, but the book Powernomics in particular by Dr. Claude Anderson is something that's a very powerful book. And I think you definitely should check it out. I'll give you my copy of it, and you can get it back to me.
Okay. One word your clients use to describe you?
Diligent, and then probably reliable. I'm a very reliable person.
Those both are really good.
Good.
Those both are really good. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us, or do you have anything coming up that you want to talk about or want us to go over?
What I would just want to share is that, and I think I've mentioned that it's kind of been a theme throughout some of my answers, which is you need to be an independent thinker, when it comes to, whatever it is, but in particular, as it relates to an injury case or the need for a lawyer, what you need to do is you need to, find the lawyer that's right for you or the person, because again, your own research is going to take you where you need to be. Because a lot of times what happens is this is how people find lawyers. They may their parents may know somebody that knows
for
somebody.
sure. A
Person that doesn't even do injury law.
Drop it in the group chat, and then somebody's boyfriends, whoever.
Go to Mr. Earl, and Mr. Earl don't know nothing about injury, or Mr. Earl is an injury lawyer, don't know nothing about family. So at the end of the day, you need to, kind of do your due diligence and find a firm that's right for you and the person that is going to be able to do the best work for you.
Well, I love that. And thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking time with us today.
It's been a pleasure. And if you've been injured in an accident, call Shani Brooks.
And thank you guys. That's it for the Bridge Views today. If you learned something new, please comment below. If you guys have anyone that you would like us to interview, my email is in the description below. And until next time, bye.